now begin the trial concerning Romeo and Juliet's death. Is the defense ready?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense is ready for the trial to begin.
Very well. The defendant's name in this trial is Friar Lawrence. Prosecution, your opening statement, please.
Of course, Your Honor. Romeo and Juliet were found dead inside the Capulet's tomb located in Verona. During the time directly before this tragic event, Juliet was in a very depressed state, mainly because her husband, Romeo, had been exiled to a city called Mantua. To give a background on the victims' families, they were part of two rivals, the Montagues and the Capulets. Juliet was a member of the Capulet family, and Romeo was a member of the Montagues. Friar Lawrence was confirmed to be inside the tomb at the time of the incident, and a pendant of his was found beside the two dead bodies. The pendant was found along with several things, Your Honor. Firstly, a dagger belonging to Romeo, a vial of poison, a torch, and a small piece of cloth that seems to be ripped off someone's shirt. In conclusion, the prosecution believes that the friar had the sole intention of preventing the feud from strengthening by the murder of this couple.
Very well then, please call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. My first witness will be a person that saw the murder with his own two eyes. Balthazar, please take the stand.
Please state your name and occupation.
Balthazar, Your Honor. I was Romeo's servant until the events this trial concerns took place.
I see. Will you please explain to us what you witnessed?
Yes, Your Honor. It was midnight last night. However, I couldn't really see much of anything. The room was extremely dark, so everything was very hard to make out. However, I'm sure that it was a friar who killed Romeo and Juliet.
Hold it! According to your testimony, Balthazar, the room was quite dark that night.
Yes, it really was quite dark in there.
Well, according to common sense and fact, Balthazar, it wasn't. You see, that night, Romeo took with him a torch.
Well, he extinguished it, obviously.
Yes, well, the evidence disagrees with you there. You see, in order to put out a torch, you must first rub it into the ground. However, there were very little dirt casings found on the torch. Not nearly enough to put it out. Furthermore, the cloth from the torch was completely burned out. This proves that it lay until it burned out, far after the murder took place.
Balthazar, Mr. Wright has a point. There would have easily been enough light to see. Lying in my courtroom will not be tolerated.
Ha!
Mr. Armando, what's so funny?
Your Honor, please let me explain. The witness was obviously shaken up by the murder that took place. It was his master, after all. Besides, the question of whether or not he saw the torch lit inside the tomb is irrelevant to the case!
Objection! Mr. Armando, are we in the same trial here? This is completely irrelevant to the case at hand. Objection!
Perhaps you'd like to explain such bold statements?
Gladly. Your Honor, the testimony we just heard was a bit lacking, was it not? Why is that?
Well, because of the light.
Exactly. Because the room was lit, he saw exactly what happened. Are you trying to tell me, Mr. Armando, that the moment of the murder was not relevant to the case at hand?
Mr. Balthazar, it wasn't hard to see, correct?
Well, come to think of it, I suppose the torch was lit at the time.
I suppose that wasn't enough to make much of a difference.
Right then, is there any comment from the defense?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to request that Balthazar explain to us the moment of the murder and how it was done.
Alright then. I do believe the torch was lit at the time, and although there wasn't very much light, I could see everything that took place. There was a struggle. Juliet was lying unconscious, and Romeo was standing over her body. Suddenly, the friar burst into the room and hit Romeo in the back of the head with a crowbar. That's when he poisoned him.
Objection! So, you say Romeo was hit in the back of the head with a crowbar, It would have left quite a large mark.
Yes, I'm sure it did.
Yes, I'm sure it did. Or rather, I'm sure it would have. Let's take a look at the autopsy report, shall we? According to this, the cause of death was poison. However, it says absolutely nothing on the mark at the back of the victim's head. If the mark we're talking about is substantial, then why is it included in the autopsy report? Objection!
Honestly, Mr. Wright, I can't see where you're going with this. The cause of death was poison, not a crowbar. Why would that have any relevancy to the report?
Objection! Well, it did not kill the victim, The investigators knew nothing about the poison when they came to investigate the body. Therefore, they surely would have investigated the body. And that means that they would have easily found a large mark on the back of the victim's head.
Ha! So what exactly are you concluding, Mr. Wright?
What I'm concluding is that since there was no head wound found on the victim, that means that the struggle the witness earlier testified about could not have happened. Hold it!
Witness, you don't expect us to take you seriously if you keep lying, do you?
Well, I'm sorry.
Alright, witness, I'm growing tired of these contradictory and useless testimonies.
Now, as I said earlier, Your Honor, the witness was obviously shaken up by the murder, or rather, murders. I mean, if you witnessed double homicide, I'm sure you wouldn't be able to say that you were calm about it, would you?
You've already used that excuse, Armando. When are you going to come up with something else?
It's quite a valid excuse, though, isn't it?
I agree with the defense. Balthazar, I must escort you out of this courtroom if you continue this absurdity.
Yes, of course, Your Honor.
Very well. Please proceed to tell us what actually happened.
Okay, so maybe there was no crowbar involved in the murder, but there was a struggle. The friar pushed Romeo to the ground and pulled out a vial of poison. He let out an evil laugh as he was holding down Romeo, who was struggling for his life. Then, he forced the liquid down the poor man's throat. During the struggle, a dagger fell off Romeo's belt. The friar took the dagger and stabbed Juliet.
Thank you, witness. I believe this is the most truthful testimony you've given so far. Does the defense have any objections?
Ha!
Well then, if there are no further comments, I believe the testimony will be accepted.
OBJECTION! What is it now? What could possibly be the matter this time?
Mr. Armando, you aren't that ignorant, are you?
Keep your ignorant comments to yourself, Wright. If you don't mind, explain your objection to the court.
I don't. As always, I've been prepared for this trial. How about we look at the actual bottle the poison came in? The vial held traces of the poison used, and we found that it was a very rare and dangerous poison that kills almost instantly.
Order! Order!
Your point, Wright?
My point, Mr. Armando, is that if there was no further struggle, the dagger could not have been knocked out of Romeo's belt. This means that he could not have stabbed Juliet.
You have a point, Mr. Wright. I suppose...
Objection!
Mr. Armando?
So, you say the friar didn't murder Juliet? Well, whether you say he did or didn't, you still have no proof that proves that he did not poison Romeo. Furthermore, who did stab Juliet?
It seems we come to a dead end. I would like to know where exactly this poison came from.
I can answer that, Your Honor.
Can you then? Well, go ahead, I suppose.
Poison that kills almost instantly? I know of one person who could formulate such a deadly concoction. There was an apothecary in Mansion. Surely he is the one who made this.
Well, at least you told the truth, I think. Still, this doesn't help us at all.
Actually, Judge, it does. I request that this apothecary be brought in to be a witness.
Very well then, we will resume this trial after a 30-minute recess. During that time, the apothecary stated in the last testimony will be found and taken to this court.